Nigeria and Brazil agree to boost bilateral cooperation.
Nigeria pledges to boost peacekeeping, cyber defense at Africa Chiefs of Defense Staff Summit.
Africa cannot remain merely a consumer of technology. We must be creators.
And it's a new era at Nigerian Television Authority as Rotimi Pedro takes the helm.
What's relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So NTA as a national asset needs to be up to the task.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall examine gains and benefits of Asia-Nigeria trade diplomacy.
You know, Yeri, I'm tempted to start with the new era here in NTA, but of course, we have our topic, and it's since the inauguration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course, last year, May, Nigeria has been actively driving economic diversification and investment promotion under the Renewed Hope agenda.
That's right, Claire. And a major part of this push is strengthening trade and investment ties with Asian countries, if you like, regions that are now global powerhouses in commerce and development.
Absolutely. And Asia, of course, tops that agenda. And that's why the trade diplomacy between Asian countries and Nigeria holds enormous promise, from attracting investments to creating jobs and boosting our nation's economic growth.
And so on Good Morning Nigeria today, we'll be examining the gains and benefits of this strategic partnership and how it can bolster the Renewed Hope investment drive.
All right. So that also includes highlights of the current state of trade relations between Asia and Nigeria. We will examine opportunities ahead, the role this cooperation can play in fast-tracking our development, and your place in it, most importantly.
Exactly. And clearly, as Nigeria seeks to diversify its economy, deepening ties with Asia becomes both important and strategic for our future.
So just to cap our topic for this morning, we will be taking a closer look at how Asia-Nigeria trade diplomacy can power the Renewed Hope investment agenda started by this administration. I am Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak, and as always, we welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria from wherever you're watching us from.
All right, I'm Ian Ray John, and we're live on the network service of the NTA. As you know, this is the largest TV network in Africa, and like we always say, you can't beat the rich. In the course of this program, of course, we'll be having the newspaper review. That's when Chukwudi Okoli Ogbaja joins us. But for now, we have Salwa Khalil Ibrahim looking very beautiful and ready to deliver the morning news. Salwa, good morning to you.
It's a pleasure, Henry. Good morning, and Claire. Here is the news. Nigeria and Brazil have taken a major decision to reinforce their bilateral cooperation, with agreements signed in 5 major areas of collaboration. President Bola Tinubu and his Brazilian counterpart, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, both expressed a readiness to grow the relationship for the prosperity of both countries.
Nós temos o maior repositório de gás. Então eu não vejo por que a Petrobras não entre como parceira da Nigéria o mais rápido possível. E eu agradeço a promessa do presidente Lula a isso.
Back home, Nigeria is strengthening peacekeeping missions, deepening cooperation and impacting on defense institutions to speak with one voice, which is expected to be driven by investing in cyber defense as investments toward the defense of the continent.
The threats of today are asymmetric, digital, and often invisible. Our response must not be less dynamic. We must invest in cyber defense, artificial intelligence, and indigenous military innovation. Africa cannot remain merely a consumer of technology. We must be creators.
Now, the collaboration between Renewed Hope Initiative and Tony Elumelu Foundation has delivered another round of empowerment to Nigerian women with the disbursement of business recapitalization grant of 50,000 naira each to 500 women petty traders in Lagos. At the ceremony where she was represented, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu called for more collaboration and platforms to empower women.
About supporting the entrepreneurial spirit of our women, traders and small-scale business owners who wake up each day determined to provide for their families, educate their children, and uplift their communities.
It is a new chapter at the Nigerian Television Authority (NTA) as its seasoned media executive Rotimi Richard Pedro officially assumed the role of Director General. The Director General takes the helm of Africa's largest television network alongside newly appointed executive directors following their appointment by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
The media landscape of today is transforming by the minute. The media delivery platform is changing by the minute as well. What's relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So NTA as a national asset needs to be up to the task.
The National Executive Committee meeting of the People's Democratic Party at the party's National Secretariat in Abuja has resolved to ensure that all members are on the same page ahead of the party's November National Convention. Ambassador Umar Damagun emerged as the party national chairman, while the presidential candidate of the PDP is to be zoned to the southern region of the country.
Let us remember the PDP is bigger than individuals. It's also bigger than factions. It is bigger than any challenge. This 102nd NEC meeting must therefore mark a decisive step.
Meanwhile, the governing All Progressives Congress (APC) assert that governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party have exhausted their ideas. The APC assert that Nigeria's democracy thrives only when opposition parties win elections, a stance that appears to be misguided. A statement signed by International Publicity Secretary Felix Moka adds that the landslide victories by the APC in the last by-election across state with significant presence of the opposition parties is an indication that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda is gaining momentum, cementing the APC as the people's choice. The National Publicity Secretary urged the opposition to ponder on their defeat at the polls instead of accusing the APC of anti-democratic conduct, which it claimed has characterized PDP's activities in recent times. Those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Claire Anyeri after the commercial break. Please stay with us.
Today's fast-paced world, staying ahead demands peak performance from our bodies.
Like never before, our bodies need an optimum supply of essential nutrients, and Supermalt supports our daily nutritional needs.
Supermalt has 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and natural extracts for overall health and wellness. One Supermalt a day gives you energy and vitality, improves your mental performance, and supports your immunity.
What food do you need?
Guys, food is ready!
Chris.
Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help, even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. The confidence of 3 toothpaste in 1. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. 1 cube, endless possibilities.
Welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria, and we're about to start. Coming up next will be newspaper review.
All right, it's a pleasure to introduce once again Chukwudi Okoli Ogbaja.
Must you call all his names? Chooks the boy.
It's time for our regular tea time, the one I enjoy. Hello, Jealous Claire. How are you doing?
Me, Chooks the boy.
How are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
Here, how now?
Very well.
Always
Thank you.
crisp and elegant.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Okay. You want to start with the newspaper review?
All right. Let's see what the papers have this morning. We'll begin with the Blueprint. The Blueprint newspaper leads with the PDP story, and it says PDP affirms Damagum substantive chair zones presidential tickets to South. The riders accuse this APC of intimidation, fixes 103rd neck for October 15. Forget 2027, Nigeria won't return to dark era. That's according to the ruling party. All right, away from that, above the lead story there, NDLEA arrest drug kingpin, 5 others over Saudi Arabia drug case. Details on page 14. And above the masthead, this morning we have Uzekome. Other lawyers hail Umba. Governor reduces Enugu crimes by 80%. You want to find out what's happening and how that's been done, page 7 will guide you. And looking away from that, below the picture story on the front page of the Blueprint this morning, we have over 1,000 terror groups operate in Africa. That's according to Gambari. And that was at the summit for Africa Chiefs of Defense yesterday. The writer says CDS Musa 6-continent-led security architecture. All right, below that, NIMET predicts high possibility of flood in Borno, Yobe. That's on page 7. Tinubu signs landmark BASA deal in Brazil. Democracy has stabilized in Nigeria. That's according to the National Assembly. And finally, in the green strip, we have CVR. That's the continuous voter registration. INEC reads Riot Act as exercise records glitches in Kwara. All right, so that's it on the Blueprint, front page of the Blueprint this morning. Claire, what do you have?
All right, The Guardian, let's see how it got us this morning. All about politics, and the pictures on the front page tell it all. It's 2027, and it says Atiku signals interest as PDP heads for a showdown with Tinubu. The real story is on page 6. Just a little above the nameplate, you find U.S. defends new social media vetting for visa applicants. It's on page 2. And family laments poor emergency response as woman dies in Lagos lagoon crash. That is on page 8. And 795 financial institutions among over 1,000 firms facing data breach probe. It's on page 15. And just below the picture story, you find Tinubu 6 stronger Nigeria-Brazil ties, inks BASA deal. That's on page 3. And Southwest leads a new voters exercise Southeast records lowest turnout. Federal government introduces mandatory ethics, criminal screening for teachers. It's on page 30. ICPC recovers 1.1 billion from Naira from Kanu official as state dismisses claim. It's also on page 30. Manufacturers lament as return of FOB levy. That's a free on board levy causes a stir. It's on page 3. NDLEA busts drug cartel that framed Nigerian pilgrims in Saudi Arabia. I think that's the outlook on the front page of The Guardian. I think we have one more newspaper. Okay, this is the Daily Times. The Daily Times newspaper, if I can get the front page. Okay, it also speaks to the NDLEA busting drug syndicates, the airport, and it also talks about the PDP zoning of 2027 presidential ticket, as well as NNPC stories, all on the front page of the Daily Times. Chukwudi.
Yeah, Claire, thank you. A lot of politics on the front pages today. I don't like talking politics. I don't understand politicians, really. But we must accept that politicians make the world tick. It's not just in Nigeria here. So what showdown are they talking about concerning PDP and President Tinubu? Oh, the zoning of the candidate to the south. They hope they are thinking that will deplete votes for APC, APC's candidate.
And the confirmation of Damagun as its substantive chairman.
Yeah.
Did that come as a surprise to you?
What surprise? That has been a running story.
Considering
by now you're bored in reading Damagun, Anyanwu, and all that. Nigerian politics still needs to grow beyond where it is. They tend to be gyrating around one sport. I'm talking about politicians in general. They are troubled by things they should have settled long ago. I don't know whether it's a simplistic or even timid calculation or analysis by a journalist, since we can't understand them.
Let me also ask you what you think of the word "shoot down." I know this is the editor's choice of word. But how do you contextualize this, in terms of, who wins and who doesn't win elections?
The editor's discretion is always a personal thing. Showdown in the sense that if we bring up a southern candidate that is going to threaten votes that would naturally go to Tinubu by people who think that the southerner should still be there in 2027. That's what they're talking about.
But how much of that is still plays out in our politics today? Because everybody will think that, okay, Nigerians will begin to look at what have you done for us? What will you do for us?
Without prejudicing comment or analysis, APC is well ahead of many of these political parties in terms of direction. It goes beyond incumbency to what the people can say is a form. They are still rallying around to assume a form, whether it's ADC or PDP. I am not pushing them out of contestation or being
out of the game.
Out of the game. But my people have this way of saying, where they could obidonya. You don't meet a man who started his journey yesterday, So it's going to be really difficult to assemble something that can challenge the APC behemoth as it is at the moment. And give it to Tinubu. The man strategizes in a way that the other time we said he convinces you without throwing a punch. Who was it? Joe Ejire. He was sitting there. I went, journalists, they're no good. I went to Joe Ejire and said, you said you were going to get 450,000 for as minimum wage for us. When I enter a room with President Tinubu, come out, the thing dropped to 70,000 naira. He said, my brother, my brother, leave matter.
Yes.
The point I'm making is, when Tinubu called NLC into a room, I knew what was going to happen. Because he has this power of persuading you without really hammering you.
But let's leave the gladiators.
Yes.
And look at Nigerians, of course, whose votes, will be, the ticket for whoever.
Yes.
And our attitude towards, elections and vote cast. Our history tells us that, of course, Nigerians, have for long depended on stomach infrastructure, to decide whoever they vote. But isn't it time that Nigerians, looks at the real issue, which is the dividends that we call democracy? And how do you, what do you think, within the context of this discussion, is the status quo?
When I come here, I don't really talk about Nigeria because Nigeria is a subset of what's happening in Africa. The clansman, which the African is still trudging towards the voter for democracy you want him to be. It's a transition that is not going to happen overnight if it's really happening in real terms. So there will still be these vagaries about where he really pitches his tent in terms of voting for people. Things that do not make people vote in other climes are the things that make many of us vote here. So it's still a big problem. I said he's graduating from the clansman to the voter for democracy. I deliberately said that. I'm not denigrating us. That's the way we are. So many things make the political terrain in Africa, Nigeria, a volatile situation. You don't have people who have made up their minds, this is the person I'm going to vote for and all that. The vagaries of free association, all those things play out in determining where eventually the ballot goes into.
Link it with Southeast recording the lowest turnout in the latest voters exercise. We shout and we talk about, being left out in terms of infrastructural development. But this is an opportunity for you to, go out there and, register. But
I'll take two things. Give me one. Get two for the price of one. It's not just the low turnout by the Southeast for this voter registration exercise. Even recruitment into the forces, they complained about it about 2 months ago. The Southeast did not come out properly. Now the risk is, later we're going to hear people whining from those quarters that they have been left out of the scheme of things. The way to go, my opinion, is to make sure that in terms of representation, you're not going to carry last. So I don't like reading that the Southeast recorded a low turnout in the updating of the voter register. It's not how it should be. Whoever is informing it is not helping the people at the end of the day. Strong participation in whatever is going on in your country is recommended for anybody who wants to have a piece of the action, whichever term, in whatever terms you want to look at it. That's the way it is. So I don't like reading that the Southeast had a low turnout. I don't like it at all. Because I can bet you that over time, you're going to hear people complaining again from the Southeast that this has not gone in their favor, this has not gone in their favor, and all that.
You have another question?
Yes. Very interesting stories on the
from the Guardian,
on the front pages. But the producer says we should round off. What interests me this morning is an editorial in the Blueprint, and it is captioned, "What does Remi Tinubu want?" There's this part I would like to read out. It says, in a country where first ladies have too often been judged by the splendor of their wardrobe, the aura of their retinue, or the drama of their utterances, Senator Remi Tinubu has chosen to tread a different path. She has turned her tenure not into a showcase of power, but into a gallery of compassion, a mosaic of interventions, and a chronicle of service. This is an interesting read. I've tried to read some, paragraphs here, and, it just shows who the First Lady is, away from politics, really. I mean, like this portion says, most times when we talk about First Ladies, we're talking about the outfits and all of that. But for her, it is completely different.
Just 1.5 months ago, I was here talking about Remi Tinubu. And I mentioned 3 of them. Victoria Gowon, Remi Tinubu, Stella Obasanjo. I deliberately did that. So I moved ahead of whoever is talking here. that self-effacing attitude. She doesn't want to be in the super trooper lights of society, yet she's quietly doing her thing.
Chukwudi.
I respect her for it.
Chukwudi, all right. I think we respect all our first ladies, but Senator Remi Tinubu,
she's in a class of her own.
Yes, in the class of her own.
Please.
I mean, what can we say about that? But this is Good Morning Nigeria. Don't go away. Our focus this morning, it's on Asia-Nigeria relations. What is in it for you? And you can join us for this conversation. But when the right time comes, we will display the number that you can send us your messages on WhatsApp, I think. Yes, that's it. All right, let's take a break now.
In today's fast-paced world, staying ahead demands peak performance from our bodies.
Like never before, our bodies need an optimum supply of essential nutrients, and Supermalt supports our daily nutritional needs.
Supermalt has 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and natural extracts for overall health and wellness. One Supermalt a day gives you energy and vitality, improves your mental performance, and supports your immunity.
Have you been aspiring to be a student of the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University Zaria to no avail? Worry no more, as you can gain entry through NTA Television College Jos, an affiliate of the renowned Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, where eligible candidates with a JAMB admissible scores of not less than 180 and 100 scores, and with 5 credits O-level in social sciences including English and mathematics, can turn their passion in broadcasting to profession by applying for a BSc in Mass Communication and MBTE approved innovation diploma courses in film and television production, broadcast journalism and television engineering respectively. The college, as a training hub with a pedigree of professionalism in the media space, also offers specialized courses in other related fields. For more information, visit our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng or contact 08033 834-343 and 08069-809-897. Announcer Management.
We're not in a romantic relationship, we're in a dash.
Brotherly relationship. Friends with benefits.
Yeah, very bad boy.
No. Family relationship.
Who be your family?
Situationship.
Are you in a situationship?
It is well.
Survey says... Hey!
Onenge is my girlfriend.
You want dodge? Thank God. Say I hacked. An oversized shirt is okay to wear, but an oversized dash isn't.
Skirt.
Bro.
Short. Wow.
Pants. Whoa. Name something you add to your text to make them more interesting.
Emojis.
Stickers. Pictures. The way my back at the breathing, at the yellow.
Gifts.
Survey says.
My birthday.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, we stand back in demand, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we have more than just a nation. We are Nigeria, we are Nigeria, strengthening unity, we know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. And to begin our conversation this morning, which is on the gains and benefits of Asia-Nigeria trade diplomacy, let's quickly take a look at this background report put together by our correspondent, Ibrahim Dan Hamidu.
Nigeria's trade diplomacy with Asia is not just about goods and services crossing borders. It is about opportunities, capital, and innovation finding a home in Africa's largest economy. At the heart of this strategic engagement is the renewed Hope Investment Drive, a bold vision by the federal government to attract global investors and stimulate local enterprise. Asia, with its vast industrial base and rising demand for raw materials, has become one of Nigeria's strongest partners. From technology transfer to joint ventures in manufacturing, agriculture, and energy, Nigeria is steadily positioning itself as both a reliable supplier and a profitable market. Already, bilateral agreements are translating into jobs, infrastructure projects, and value-added exports that expand Nigeria's footprint in the global economy. Crucially, this diplomacy is more than trade figures. It complements national investment efforts by opening doors for small businesses, boosting non-oil revenue, and strengthening Nigeria's place in the global supply chain. As Nigeria consolidates these gains, experts in international trade and economic policy will discuss how this partnership can be deepened, ensuring that Asia-Nigeria relations become a lasting engine for growth under the renewed Hope agenda.
All right, let's begin our introductions. Of course, we have all our guests right here in the studio, and we also invite you. Quickly, I'd like to begin with Alfonso Adebayo, of course, who is an investment expert from Switzerland. He joins us live here in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Also next to him, we have our investment expert from Belgium, Benga Ogundikbe. Benga, thank you very much for joining us.
All right, also here for the conversation is Dr. Martin Fakurede, Chairman, Renewed Hope Professionals. Many thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, and also here is Lady Jane Sang, Asia Nigeria Coordinating Investment Specialist and the CEO of Symbol Consulting. Many thanks for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you for having us.
All right, let's. I'd like to begin with Shane, and that's of course because you are the coordinator of Asia-Nigeria Business Relations. That means that you would have a bird's eye view of how these partnerships are structured. I'm just wondering if you could just briefly give us an overview of the content and scope of these relations and. Where Nigeria currently stands, but most importantly, we would like to know, if we are still likely import dependent, from your perspective, or maybe Nigeria is beginning to pull up kind of a trade balance, reciprocal, for mutual interest.
Right. So far, I think for the current situation, I think it's already mutual beneficial. Because Nigeria needs a lot of goods and also technology products from Asia, from China, from Japan, from South Korea. So it's already the state of art. But right now, if we want to create new type of balance, it means there is the capacity building program is needed locally. And that is where the Chinese investors, I think, are focused on. It's my first time in Nigeria. When I passed by, I saw a lot of Chinese constructions and Chinese companies' presence already in Nigeria. I think they have been doing a great job to help the Nigerian society to build up infrastructure such as railways, such as highways, such as hotels, or this. And the next step is to involve deeply with Chinese technology firms, because they are the firms who can help the Nigeria to build up the capacity in order to be more independent from the import from any other country, because that is where the supply chain can play a real role in the local economy and also the nation building. So that is where we are heading for, I think. So that's why in this trade mission, we have a lot of investors from tech field, because I think that is where the future is, and where Chinese and Nigerian like business community can really merge together.
And I know we, I mean, everyone knows, you know, the extent of trade relations Nigeria has with China. But can you break down some of those other Asian countries, you know, so that, I mean, the viewer can actually get to know where the action is, which of these Asian countries, you know, show interest in Nigerian businesses?
I think for, if we look at the volume, I think China for sure is the biggest business trade partner.
China
right?
and India.
Yeah, China and India are the biggest partner. But I see also like there's increasing interest from Japanese, from Korea, from also Asian countries such as Singaporeans, from Vietnamese. And so they are also very interested in also exploring more emerging market opportunities. Because if you look at the ASEAN countries of Vietnam, they followed actually what China did like 40 years ago. So they opened up, they did reforms, so right now the economy goes up. But at the same time, they also need to be independent from the American market. So they are also looking for some new opportunities abroad.
All right, many thanks, Shane. I'd like to get to Alfonso now. How would you describe the current state of trade relations between Nigeria and Asia? And speak about the benefits, really, of this partnership. Who benefits more from the partnership of these two regions?
Thank you. Obviously, we as Nigerians, will benefit more. But at the same time, it's mutual. Especially in China, the Chinese have the technology, they have the efficiency and effectiveness of how we can help to build our, economies and create jobs with the right pace and the right, structure. So, creating jobs and creating the right, robust economy around how we collaborate and cooperate with Chinese companies will be more beneficial to Nigerian companies. But at the same time, it goes back to China. As you do that, you create more revenue, you create more industrial cooperation, which aids and helps in developing the economy and the major parts and important parts of the technology that the country needs to move forward.
But some people say that there's a trade imbalance because we seem to have more imports from Asia, compared to what we export.
That's for now. That's what we have now, and this is what we're trying to do. As we can see, we have the Nigeria First, policy of this government, and that goes beyond where we can imagine. And this is why we look at, actually what we are importing, we can actually produce locally. When we produce locally, that's jobs and better logistics. So in the end, it's all beneficial more to our country, and we can just move forward with that.
Let me still stay with you because I know Switzerland. You are the expert from Switzerland, and I'm just wondering. This is a country we really don't hear so much about business breakthroughs or partners with Nigeria and all that. And I'm wondering, what do they think about us, about Nigeria, about investing in Nigeria? Are they cautious? Are they genuinely interested in our business? And if they are cautious, what area are they concerned the most?
Switzerland is a beautiful country.
Absolutely, I've been there.
8.5 million residents, but huge GDP. GDP per capita is quite high as well. Nestle, as is from Switzerland, and you have a beautiful country, very strong industrial country that needs a huge market like Nigeria. So they've over the years and over decades they looked at Asia, especially China, but now they're looking at Africa. Nigeria solves that problem. At over 240 million, strong market.
So it's our market.
It's our time. It's our time. And don't forget, we have one of the youngest population living force in Africa.
Okay, Mr. Alfonso, just give us a minute. We'll come back to you. Please, just stay. I mean, hold your thoughts. We'll just take a break, and when we come back, We will continue with our conversation.
All right, Claire, looks like that break needs to wait, according to the producer. So let's get to Benga Gundekwe now. Listening to Shane and Alfonso, speak earlier, I'm just thinking, does Nigeria really have a clear trade policy, direction towards Asia? Or do you think that this is just reactive instead of being strategic in terms of the partnerships that we have at the moment?
That's a good question, and it's interesting you directed that to me in terms of trade policy, because it's something that I've been heavily working on, trying to work on from all the corners, particularly with the National Assembly, from the coffers that I can interact with. In terms of trade policy, I would say we are doing better now, because one of the key criteria is to have bilateral trade with any other country is a trade policy. So there must be an alignment between the interacting countries. And trade policy, when we talk about that, it could be in terms of regulation, standardization, the terms of engagements, the financial funds repatriation, and all of these things. And we can see all of these things playing out properly now. So I would not generalize it within Asia. I would say that there's proper trade policy being developed now than I would say we've had before. We used to have this in a fair manner with the Europeans. When I say Europeans, maybe with the United Kingdom, as the United Kingdom has one of Nigeria's largest exports. In terms of food particularly, most of our food stuff actually go there. I would say almost every day or twice or 3 times a day. But when it comes with Asia, it was, although it's working now, but it was more of a reactive approach as against a proactive approach. So it was reactive to what they had seen over time. And particularly now, it's interesting because we see trade in the global space of things the dynamics has changed. The playbook of trade globally has changed. We have the old tariff wars going on currently. And I always say that I'm happy with the global tariff wars that's happening. You know why? It opens the door for Nigeria to do trade with other countries they've not even had interest in over time. And what we see happening with Asia now is that there's heavy interactions with them. The trade policies are actually now being developed to ensure that funds repatriation are being done properly. Everyone is able to get their funds back. And what we see happening now is there are reduced empty containers being sent back to Asia. Over time, most containers that come from Asia return empty. That's why the cost of freight has always been high. So now we are seeing a reduced return leg, a reduced empty return leg back to Asia, hereby dropping the cost of freight. And that's also very, very impressive. It's something that you cannot see. You cannot really feel it. But those in that sector actually can tell you that this is what is happening.
Now, you said those containers are no longer returning empty. What exactly are Nigerians sending to these Asian countries?
Oh, that's very interesting. So one of the things that we would say that is largely sent to Asian countries, and this is only because of the production facility they have. I'll give you an example. Let's use rare earth minerals, lithium, for example. They're only in the world in general. Let's just take Asia and Australia and a couple of other countries are the only ones that actually have lithium refinery plants. So lithium, and Nigeria has good deposit of lithium, as we know now. Good, thanks to what the Solid Minerals Ministry are doing and across board. Now, we see that there's huge export of lithium from Nigeria to China, to Asia in general, just for lithium refinery.
Let me ask you, let me go back to your base, Belgium.
Yes, please.
My brothers from the Southeast are heavy. Yeah, and I know, they are there. And Belgium is, of course, heavy in terms of logistics, in terms of
chocolate.
Exactly, and all of those. But it is still within the EU with very stringent rules, trade rules and laws. I'm just wondering, Nigeria has the first Nigeria policy now. Mm-hmm. How can we conveniently fit into that?
Very good, actually. You see, what you just said is the game of play with EU has changed. There's proper interactions now. I mean, the president is usually within the EU zone, at least quite often now. The executive council, they're usually there. And I can tell you for a fact, there's actual work being done. Belgium, for instance, in fact, the level of trade. So I would say this: the trade with Belgium used to be unilateral. Let's say it as it is, but in the last couple of years, it has become actually bilateral. Kudos to those, the mission in Nigeria, the Belgian mission in Nigeria, the Nigerian mission in Belgium. They're doing a lot of work in making it bilateral, because over time, the word Belgium has been for how long? Over 20, 30, 40 years. And that's because these cars have been coming in. And that was when we saw the era of a huge chunk of like unilateral trade within Belgium and Nigeria. But now if you go to the port, you see a lot of products going from Nigeria actually into Belgium. Within the EU, now I would agree that you're very right with that, but it's very valid. Only because when we say the EU, we're talking about a huge zone. It's just about talking about the African Union. If I'm going to allow any product to come into the African Union, that is the Union of African Countries, it has to be stringent. If it's only going to Nigeria, okay, we could relax on some of the policies. But I know whatever comes into Nigeria as a result of the AU can go to any other African country. So, and the standards of each country differ. So this is the gathering of several minds of different countries with different interests and different needs coming together to make rules that they feel unilaterally are aligned with what they want. So if a product can be, and this is one of the major problems in terms of shipping or doing business with the EU because of the stringent rules, which is very correct, but it's very valid also because they're catering to almost a larger, at least almost 20, 25 different countries.
But let's look at it from, like I said, I mean, the Nigeria first approach.
Yes.
Whatever business relations we enter must, be of interest to Nigerians first and foremost. That's what it means. So beyond what, Belgium wants from us, what are the opportunities for Nigerians? What do we have for them?
We have a lot for Belgium. Like people always, let me allow Mr. Adebayo.
Yes, no, we'll come back. We will need to adjust his microphone before we get back to.
All right.
So what we have for Belgium is enormous. First of all, Belgium, apart from Switzerland, which is coincidental again, Belgium actually is one of the next largest producer of chocolate. Number one. There is a growing need now for cassava flour in Europe and in Belgium. Belgium is one of the largest consumers of bread. So, and there's a change from using the normal flour that we all know now to cassava flour. So it's enormous. There is the cocoa, there is cassava flakes, cassava flour. We have quite a lot of things that they would need. I mean, to just mention a few, they are not that much of they really have access to a lot of raw materials and raw minerals. So in terms of that, they need these interactions to happen. So we just need to channel it. I think the issue, Nigeria has what Belgium needs. The issue in that trade station, in that trade portal, is standardization and regulation of these products to them.
Many thanks, Gbenga. And there's something you said about things Nigerians are taking to China. You talked about lithium and the rest. Of course, I'll get back to you more to talk about how all of that is being done, if regulations are being followed, and if it benefits Nigerians in the long run, or if it's doing us harm, in the bid to I don't know, whatever it is, but you speak about that. But let's get to Dr. Fakorede now. We're talking about Nigeria-Asia trade relations, and I'm thinking that how effective, at the moment are existing bilateral agreements with China, India, and other Asian countries?
It is very obvious that all these bilateral relations and the agreements, signed protocols with Nigeria, between Nigeria and Asian countries, gradually, getting effective. We want to take it first by saying that in the area of lithium production, the Oil Minister in charge of Southern Mineral Deposit in Nigeria has, brought to bear physically a factory, a $20 billion factory that is at works between the FCT and Nasarawa. It's actually in the works currently, to which they are manufacturing and establishing a factory on that spot, whereby we'll not only export our lithium deposits, but will manufacture batteries and all whatnot needed. It's ongoing. It's ongoing, and quite a number of it. You see, our interest at the Renewed Hope Professionals Forum is elicited, is that we are elicited with this effort of the Alfonso Group and the Chinese persons coming into Nigeria. We appreciate the benefits of exports, the exporting of our products. But most importantly, we like our, things we have, being our mineral deposits in Nigeria that's available in every local government in this country, to be made use of in country. That is, let factories spring up within Nigeria, to which will become, producers of those products. Take an example from China. About 100 years ago, they closed their doors, to the world, trade-wise, and said, we're taking it seriously now. We'll begin to manufacture. Pronto, 10 years after, almost the entire world started having, their brands being produced, manufactured on mainland China. And Nigeria, under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has taken up the gauntlet as well to say, okay, Nigeria first. Whatever we want to do now, let those people who have the money, the capacity to manufacture and produce in country, let them come. So that's why we're excited to welcome Shin and her group, as facilitated by the Alfonso Group, that we will not only be wailing and complaining about what the government met on the ground, how our economy might have been plummeted over the decades, but we are moving forward. We have the answers, and we are kowtowing, what Mr. President is doing as the #1 quintessential ambassador of investment in Nigeria. He's traveled around the world, and he still keeps traveling. As we speak, he is in Brazil, ensuring that he gets investments and investors into the country. So this effort is complementing Mr. President's effort to ensure that we have investors, the more, in country. When we do this, definitely there will be creation of jobs. There will be the GDP of Nigeria in terms of profitability of such businesses will rise. So we are quite excited, and the gains are there.
Yeah, fantastic, Dr. Fakorede. But, from what you have said, with this, the Nigeria First policy and then getting investors from different parts of the world to come into the country, do you think that Asia's influence in Nigeria's economy is an opportunity for growth, or probably be a threat to local industries at the moment?
Obviously, it's that's why we are correcting, the seen anomalies in terms of trade imbalance in the first instance. Let us take it from construction, infrastructure development. They have experience and know-how more than we do. And we cannot be an island unto ourselves. The whole world is one global village. So that is why we are learning from their technological experience. We're learning from, how they have also developed, their countries, taking a leaf from the Asian tigers. They are here now. We're not just giving out things for them to, do on ground and take advantage of our opportunities. Rather, we're bringing them in country so that they can actually develop, learn from the technology, make it homegrown, and then from Nigeria, we begin to manufacture. Shane is here with technologists. She's here with those who can invest in Nigeria in the subsector of technology. And Nigeria, as we all know, is the giant of Africa. And in the area of technology, we are the most wired, gradually and surely. Our youths, about 70% of our youths, 90% of them are tech they are tech savvy. So Nigeria is a veritable platform for Asians to come in so that we can actually learn from them, take in their investment, turn this place to another hub, for development.
Okay, let me bring Shane. And I'm just wondering, I'm looking at technology transfer. Right? We have a lot of business relations with China. Beyond, the infrastructural and other trade areas, do the Chinese investors actually see, Nigeria as a hub for technology outsourcing?
Well, I have to answer this question from 3 perspectives. So also added to Dr. Martin. So first of all, if we just look at the imbalance, like bilateral imbalance, I think then you will lose the real view of the whole picture. Because take China as an example. So 40 years ago, China was a very poor country, very underdeveloped. But China didn't take, at the beginning, take the imbalance, bilaterally. but they just attract as much as we could all the investors all over the world. We open up the market, we give them all the opportunities and also incentives to invest.
China only started opening up recently.
Yes.
China only started opening up to the world recently.
Yeah, like 40 years
Yeah.
ago, right? So
Yes,
it's not like
years ago, China was a closed.
yeah, exactly. So it took 40 years, but China right now, what it became is not only the factory of the world, but it's also the tech factory of the world. We have the most advanced technology. How could we actually get there? It's not because we look at the imbalance like bilaterally, because we look at the fact that once we get the expertise, once we train our people, we train them and get the real talent, we build up the whole ecosystem to be the powerhouse. And then, and the result is, of course, we solve the imbalance problem. So the imbalance itself is not the problem, I think. It's just the reality. The fact is, I think right now for Nigerians, we have to look at the bigger picture, is how to work with the Chinese, for example, in order to develop the bigger market, which is African market, which is the world market, which is the Latin American market, for example. So in that case, it doesn't matter the imbalance between China and Nigeria, because Nigeria makes more money abroad in other markets. So that will solve actually the problem itself. So that is the first perspective I want to share.
I don't know if Martins, if you agree with that.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Yes,
you know,
the imbalance, in the trade relations, between A and B, where there is an imbalance, it shouldn't be the priority, it shouldn't be a focus, but develop yourselves, and then you could probably, balance out later. But this is a relation between two sovereign nations.
That's right.
Yes.
You see, charity must begin, at home, from the home front. Over the decades, we've been taking things for granted in this country, throughout the military and, of course, the pseudo-democratic government that we've experienced so far. It's high time that we stop looking at ensuring that overnight we will balance the trade imbalance that we're seeing. We have to work on ourselves from home, from the home front here. We have to get serious. We have laws, we have protocols, we have a lot of rules in this country that guides relationship. But how to make those things work is what, from home, we must get serious about.
What are those policy shifts that we need to make that work?
The policy shifts, the policies are there quite well, but it is for us to ensure that those policies, those laws in terms of trade guiding us, are, brought to bear. That is what informed the idea of the Nigeria First policy, whereby we'll have our homegrown ideas to ensure that whatever happens in terms of trade imbalance, we, from our home front, begin to present ourselves. For example, if you have businesses come in free trade zones, it could be tax incentives free. There are incentives for you, trade policies to ease of trade. In Nigeria, those are the ideas that government has come up with, and that's what we're riding on as a platform to bring in this investor through the Alfonso Group.
Fantastic, many thanks,
Yes.
Dr. Fakorede. Let's get to
Alfonso.
now.
Yes.
Sorry
about the delay. We had to, tidy up your microphone. I just needed to explain that to you. Yes.
All right. So, Alfonso, in all of this, what comes to my mind is, does Nigeria have enough bargaining power when dealing with Asian giants, when we're talking about this? And speak to us really, since, you live elsewhere, you understand how this works, import and export. Speak about the challenges that Nigerian exporters face when they have to access the Asian market.
Absolutely. Nigeria has the speaking power. We Africa's largest population, over 240, if we look at it from the population, 40 million, strong markets. And we have, we have everything to, negotiate. We have all the tools that we need to negotiate. We have the purchasing power, we have the youth population, we have the political power, we have everything, we have the interest as well. You see, we are just looking at Asia right now. This is China that we're talking about. We have, I think, majority of European countries actually want to do business with Nigeria. They want to, as much as possible, invest, knowledge exchange. We face that every day. So, and if we look at, for example, the challenges are actually, they come from within. We need to strengthen our infrastructure here for export. That working with the customs, looking at our exports and industry and all that, and we can go places. We can do much better. The challenges are actually on infrastructure when we look at for export, but the market out there, the interest out there is enormous, right? And of course, we can look at it that Nigeria has a level of reputation, but we wouldn't look at that. The funny thing is that the world is actually looking at Nigeria. They know our potential. They know what we have to offer. We are the ones that have to work. Just like Dr. Martin said out there, we have a lot of policies to put in place, and we can actually take over the world. The world is looking at Nigeria, and it is our time. I've said it is our time. And yes, we can, the opportunities are unlimited.
Let me ask you, we know Switzerland used to be known for, to be a place where you can hide your illicit flows. You just go and hide your money. It was noted for that, but I think it took steps to address that. I think it joined the OECD's information where you allow other global to access your for. And our environment. I'm just wondering how Nigeria, can fit in again. If we're going to do business, with Switzerland, we must have a very transparent, trading system.
Great question. And yes, this is a little bit of wrong perception of Switzerland. People don't realize that over 68% of the Swiss industry is more manufacturing, industrial based. Then you have pharmaceuticals. The banking sector, which you're referring to, is around 17% of that produces the GDP of the economy. And of course, sometimes you have these chocolates and
I love Switzerland.
Incredible. Like yes, Switzerland is an exporting power, industrial power. Almost 70% of the economy is based on manufacturing, machines, strong machine industrial base. The rest is more the banking sector. The EU, the OECD agreements, just like in Luxembourg, Switzerland has this agreement as well. It's quite open, but at the same time, we are looking at the past reputation of Switzerland, the present. And what they're looking at in the future is more industrial, on trade and cooperation with the rest of the world, right? And yes, that's the type of country you have. This is a small parts of the economy, and it's been well addressed.
I agree. What can Nigeria, because Nigerian investors that want to do business with Switzerland, what should they learn? What are the lessons that they need to, take away to ensure, successful business relations? Because you've told us a lot of things, areas where Nigerians can invest, but they need to also know that this is a place where you have to be transparent.
Yes, you've said it's transparency, accountability, the awareness of industrial base of the economy, and how you can actually benefit from when you have production and export, and you look at the market's value as well. Nigeria, we have the population. We need to look at the bigger markets as well. Even though we are already a big market, we need to look at bigger markets, and we need to look at how we can be we can export on transparent and accountability, strengthen our infrastructure and technology. This is why we're bringing in our Chinese partners as well. Okay. We need the right technology and infrastructure. Without the right technology and infrastructure, we will be working slowly in a little bit of cake.
All right. Many thanks, Alfonso. We hope we do not work slowly with all of this that your group is doing and what the present administration is doing. I'd like to get to Gbenga, and I'm just thinking about regional frameworks like the ECOWAS and the CFTA. Does that affect the Nigeria trade diplomacy with Asia in any way? And how would you want to compare all of this?
Interesting. It's like you have a profile of me before asking these questions, because these are areas that I have done a bit of research, actually, particularly within the African free trade area. I remember still doing a paperwork on the implementation of that just this year. Just so we know, when we talk about the AFCTM, the after free trade area, Nigeria is there, but I'm sure we are not fully committed to it yet. And that's as a result of the Nigerian First policy that is currently we see happening, and it's like taking a copy from what a cover from what the Chinese did when they did I would say the Nigerian First policy is fitting into what the global space is doing. We see that in America, we see that in Europe now, we see that everywhere. So we see that even within the regional framework, as we see in Burkina Faso and all our neighboring brothers and our neighboring states, everyone is literally going inwards to prioritize themselves. So we see international trade now, and that's why I said now is the best time to get into international trade, because it's exciting. It's now more home-based, home-focused, from home out, and enforcing that it's more bilateral now. We're no longer looking at the face of it being unilateral. So that is one of the things that makes it exciting. And trust me, it's what is even driving me to even want to be, at the forefront of saying, now, okay, we can bring up our heads. There's so many other people supporting the Nigerian First policy, even within the free trade area, the African trade area. What we should know is, you see, the African trade area is exactly what when that is achieved. She mentioned something earlier that the EU have stringent rules. It's not going to be the same stringent rules we believe, but you see that flexibility that they have and that confidence they have in their policy and their trade rules is the confidence we would also have. Like Mr. Adebayo has been saying, Mr. Alfonso has been saying, Nigeria is strong. When we say strong, Nigeria is strong. There is no, within ECOWAS, within the free trade area, trust me, I can tell you, it's because we are still trying to focus internally. When we begin to now work with our neighboring countries and work with our regional partners, the force is going to be enormous.
When you say strong, is Nigeria strong in protecting its citizens when all of... Yes. Okay, maybe you want to respond. I'm sure you know where I'm headed.
Yes.
Yes, so speak about that.
Wow. Okay, let's take it from Nigeria being strong enough to protect. Nigeria is actually doing a lot to protect its citizens. I think we always forget that we are quite, our number is much. And when you have such large numbers like that, if the system that has birthed that large number is dysfunctional, we would blame the system at the moment that is dysfunctional. Mind you, the system that should have actually propelled it to a nice look, to a proper form, has been dysfunctional. And I'm not much into the political space in Nigeria, and I don't understand more of it. And I think that's what they say, there's a need for review of this, review of that, review of this. Actually, there's a need to do a review. You get to a point whereby you need to look at, okay, what have we done wrong? What have we done to this point, and how do we have to make these changes? And I can tell you for a fact, those changes are things that are happening now, and that's why a lot of people are feeling it now. If these changes had been done earlier, we may not necessarily feel it now. So the pain we're feeling now is what should have been done earlier. And I mean, why earlier? When the global economy was good, when the oil prices were still good, when we could export a lot of agricultural products, was when those changes should have been done. When the value of the naira was still good, was when these changes should have been done. Now, the reason why we are feeling it heavy now is because of the global impacts. There's been there's a trading. I come from a consulting world. Like I used to do business consulting, tech consulting. I've done all of that. And I can tell you, even in the 9 to 5 in the corporate world, like global contracts are not being signed anymore. A lot of people are doing themselves first. A lot of global contracts are most of them are not being renewed. So people are withholding and keeping back. So which means there is not that much free flow of funds anymore as we would see. So that's one of the things, again, that we are actually seeing and it's feeling. And that's why the question you asked is very good, because sometimes, you know, when Dr. Martins was speaking, in my head I was like, he has a sweet mouth, he's speaking well. But I'll tell you, these ideas do not actually translate to the reality. And that's why people are complaining.
Good. That's the point I want to come, because we are all talking about. I'm sure we are speaking to well-established companies, well-established firms, well-established businesses. Lady Sheng, many Nigerians, I mean, we applaud the Chinese, you know, for partnering us. We see the roads, we see the bridges, you know, we see the rails, but they're complaining. We don't have jobs. Unemployment is high. Where are the jobs?
Right. So based on the Chinese experience, at the beginning is we have to train the labor population, especially the youth, to be skilled worker. That is the first step. So they have to be suitable for manufacturing this application scenario. So that is the first. And with this, it's not only the investment from the investors' side. It needs cooperation with local governments, with local authority. We have to form, and also university. We have to form some programs to train them in order to get the skilled labor to work properly in the manufacturing, you know, scenario. So that is the first. And second, we have to have engineers who understand how to, you know, manipulate all these kind of manufacturing lines. And then you need also to train the managers who knows how to operate properly, coordinate within the plants and also with others, you know, with other plants around the world, because you cannot fabricate everything here in Nigeria. You always need to assemble some part and then it's get together. So that is a process for at least 10 years. So if we look at China, it's the same. So China opened up the market in 1978. But when did China really start to become the real powerhouse? Is after 2000.
But I want you to also speak to the issue of trust.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to
foreign investors.
You know, exactly.
Yeah, right. So the trust building, I think, it should be done in both direction, right? It's not just that the investor should invest more and then they can gain the trust. The trust is a mix of culture, a mixture of business, a mixture of political interactions. It's a mix of everything. So the stakeholders on the table and also beyond the table should always contribute together. That's why I think this trip organized by our partner Alfonso Group is great, because I think it's the first Chinese trade mission who gets really in-depth understanding of what Nigeria needs and what this economy is looking for and what the people are looking for. Okay. And that helps to deepen the understanding from the Chinese side.
You know why I brought in the element of trust and confidence?
Yeah.
It's because, I mean, many, should I say some Nigerians believe that the investments, you know, or the partnership with China at the moment, in the long run, at a particular time, you know, China will turn around to, you know, come back and begin to claim, you know, ownership of the infrastructure. So there's that element of fear of what might happen in the long run. So if we're having business relationship, you know, or investing or with Chinese, this element of fear and distrust must be broken.
Yeah, I understand totally, because this type of thing happened in the history with other countries, of course, you know. And but I think, you know, the trust building is long run, and that should involve more stakeholders than we just think right now. So that's why we need more Nigerian young people to go to university in China, to study in China, and to understand what Chinese people think. So the China capacity is how to work with Chinese is also a must-have for this country. So that's why, you know, I have seen a lot of Nigerian young people go to China. I feel very glad, because that is a beginning of the real trust.
All right. Many thanks, Shane. Dr. Fakorede, in all of this, I mean, fantastic idea, and good to know that Shane is, you know, very much interested in all of this, being a foreigner. But speak about what kind of agreements or partnerships that are signed with these foreign investors when they come in, especially the Chinese. Because in the past, we've heard stories of how the Chinese come into, the country, get to use Nigerians not as key production staff, but as laborers, and get maltreated in their own country. And that's an issue. So people are asking questions like, when they come in, are they properly aware or informed, or the agreements that are signed, such that Nigerians are not treated like, just secondhand in their own country?
It has to deal with implementation of, the policies, the agreements that we have. Because it's not enough to just sign agreements, but the implementation of same is very key. We have our law enforcement, agencies. We have agents of government responsible for all this. There's a trade promotion department, Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that does all this. There's a Federal Ministry of Trade Investment, that takes charge of all this. So it has to do with Nigerians who are the ones putting pen to paper on behalf of Nigeria. And of course, our enforcement agencies. Nigeria has a lot of law enforcement agencies that are to ensure that the content of agreements, trade agreements, bilateral agreements, protocols so signed by government are enforced in country. And I keep saying, and I will not stop saying, that for us to have a sustainable development in this country, two key cardinal things must be on our minds, to which we need to put to practice, which is integrity of purpose in the first instance, and of course belief in the country, which is patriotism. If we have these two, then making sure that the contents of our agreements are followed through is imperative that it will all come to bear. Now let us talk about the evidence of the benefits to an average Nigerian in terms of the investment that we're having in the current administration. Initially, I talked about the lithium deposit and the factory, worth of over $20 billion ongoing. Nigerians are the ones working there. Find thousands of Nigerian youth working. You find able-bodied men who are excavators, those who are truck drivers. They make their earnings from this. And the investors are also making their money. The GDP of Nigeria is growing. The road that is going between Lagos to Calabar along that southern Nigerian corridor is bringing in a lot of benefits into the country. The work is ongoing. It's Nigerian people that are working, on those roads. That is, jobs are being created. The railway lines from southern Nigeria to northern Nigeria coming back through to eastern Nigeria is in the works, as the case may be. Quite a number of, ideas like that. In a place called Atiba also, in your state, where they have mineral deposits, the community has taken it upon themselves to relate with government and getting approval to begin to excavate, to mine what the Almighty has given to them in the soil. They were on national television about 2 weeks ago to resolve their issues. Jobs are being created for and by the youth of that community. So across board, you just need seriousness of purpose by all and sundry in this country. That's how I'm always excited about what China did and what they are doing. They get serious about governance, and we need to get serious about governance. It's high time we forget about sentiments of naysayers, talking about tribalism and religious differences, and face nationalism as a country. See Nigeria as being owned by you and I together, and be our Jerusalem. We don't have any other country but Nigeria. Let us make this country work. When we decide that we shall make Nigeria work, they will get serious. One, the authorities, those who are saddled with the responsibility to ensure that the content of agreement, trade agreements and protocols are brought to bear, they will do the right thing. Those enforcement agents and agencies to ensure that our laws are enforced, they will do the right thing. And people will get serious about all these things. Gradually and surely, in a not too distant future, we will get to that place we're going to, we're headed.
Just to quickly remind our viewers that you can send in your comments and questions to the number on your screen. You can be a part of this conversation, of course, and our guests to be willing to respond to whatever issues that you raise. Claire, looks like you.
Yes, I want to bring Sheng into the conversation before we come back to Alfonso and Benga. It's quite interesting, and I know that a lot of Nigerian investors, are watching. We're getting comments that will take in a short while, but some would ask. We know Japan and Korea value chains. They show interest in also keying into these areas. Just what are the entry points apart from the government deals? Yes.
The Japanese and the
yes, and the Korean, yes.
So, so first of all, when you talk about value chain, there are a lot of different industries, right? So Korean and Japanese, they are also very strong in automotive industry, for example, and also right now in semiconductor industry. So what they really want, I think, their interest here is first of all the automotive industry, like for this, because as we have already mentioned several times, lithium is the key for EV. Because that is key for battery. A battery is probably actually 80% the value of an EV. So who can produce mostly efficiently like a battery can gain the market. And who can gain the Nigerian market and can gain the African market. So that is also the strong point for the local economy. So that is their biggest interest also for Chinese manufacturers as well. So I think there's a competition right now between different countries and between different supply chain and also their the players. So right now in Nigeria, I think have the upper hand. And because that is because not only the market and also the lithium that you have. So that's why I think instead of being afraid of being abandoned someday by the investors, I think Nigerians should be very confident in themselves, because first of all you have the best gateway position for African market, and secondly you have a very large population which is very young. It's youngest probably in the world. That is 70% under 30 years old, 60% under 20. So that is incredible, a miracle actually, opportunity. And the third is the market itself will be emerging and will be developed. So how can an investor abandon such a great opportunity and try to switch to another?
Shane, you see, you speak on the side of the investors.
Yeah.
You say the fear about some critics about all of this is at a point when it was oil, the same thing played out. There was a lot of interest in Nigerian oil. And we saw how Nigerians have been exploited. Now it's lithium, right? Because we're moving to renewable energy. Okay, so the attraction again is Nigeria. So how are we sure that at the end of the day, it's not just going to be the same thing that played out with the oil?
That's what I asked about trust. She addressed that.
Because EV is very different. I mean, this supply chain is very different compared with a field with also oil and gas. Oil and gas is actually, you just need to export it to some other country and they can use it, and they can use it for some other plastic bags, whatever. But EV is a very complex supply chain. You cannot just dig the mine and get it out and then that is the end of the story. No, it's just the very beginning step. Automotive is the most complicated supply chain, and in the world it involves more than thousands actually companies for one car. So that is very complicated. So this is a very different story because the industry is completely different. So that's why, with this powerhouse, with this what you have, you can really build up the power of the economy, because automotive helps a lot of countries to become developed, such as Hungary, such as Czech Republic, such as Japan, such as South Korea, such as China, such as America in the history, right? Each country, when they really can get into automotive industry, they can really have the upper hand. They can really develop it, because all the other things we see, like robotics, whatever, AI, robotics, all this, these are also based on our experience in automotive industry.
Let me ask you, the material you have on you, is it Nigerian?
Yeah.
The fabric.
100% Nigeria.
100% Nigeria. Maybe you need to make it and wear it so that when next you're coming on the show.
No
Alphonsus, let's talk about what we export. And I'm just concerned that if we continue to stay on this, resource export, we may run the risk of, getting ourselves, on the permanent dependency basis. Are you concerned about that?
I'm not too concerned. We've moved. I think we moved forward a little bit in Nigeria from exporting this typical raw materials and crude oil, and with the Dangote refinery and what we are doing, and investing in technology, and we are looking at the processing as well. We know that we need to do it in most of the sectors where we have our strengths. We know our strengths, what we have in our soil. We need to input technology, invest in technology, invest in processing, and we then we can take off the world. We have everything that it takes. That's why I'm not bothered with it at all. I think we are in the right time of moving forward when it comes to technology, and it would leverage most of our fears when it comes to
all right, many thanks,
exports.
Alfonso. We need to go on a break shortly, but I'd like to ask Gbenga, our economy, the small and medium scale enterprises are the major drivers for us. With this partnerships, Nigeria-Asia trade relations, how do you think that would help us scale up, as regards to, small and medium enterprises in the country? Or is this just, I don't know, speak about how really it would help drive, players in that sector.
Thank you very much. One of the things we prioritize in this particular trip, in this relationship with Sinvol Group and Shin, is local content and MSMEs. So we've prioritized, we're not looking for, majority of the people that they've interacted with are people that most people in Nigeria don't even know. Startups. Yesterday, our first interaction at the WTC Abuja was with major companies, startups in Nigeria, that AI companies in Nigeria that are doing well that I'm sure Nigerians don't know. So what we are trying to do is to go grassroots and work with minds that are willing to do the work, minds that are ready to make the change. And one thing you should know is these discussions and these conversations that are happening on mutual benefits. It's not, oh, I have this, I'm bringing this. It's about exchange, knowledge transfer, technology transfer, exchange programs. And it's this, so that's why this investment, I've always said, when we say investments, we've always seen it from the monetary point of things. Investment could be monetary, investment could be technology, investment could be knowledge transfer. That's an investment.
But
so,
because that's the experience Nigerians have. So when you talk about investments,
it's usually
technology
the money
transfer is hardly
mentioned.
Part of it. Yeah.
Which is actually the most important part. This is it is the basics of it. And yes, as you rightly said, technology transfer, investments in all sectors.
All right, yes. We'll just put you on hold
Thank
and
you
take
very
a short break. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll be right back.
For the past 5 years or more, the world has started recognizing female filmmakers. Female filmmaking and filmmakers was not really a thing initially because it's still a male-dominated sector. But suddenly, women are being put in places that has been able to give us opportunities and open our minds to so many different and unique things that we have been behind the scenes and been deprived of. Now we've seen that this avenue has been presented for us. We are being recognized globally. When we go out there, female filmmakers are now being put among top top 10 of everything that's happening in the world when it comes to filmmaking. So now when we have this kind of opportunities, all these kind of opportunities being presented to us, what do we do as female filmmakers? We are not going to say, oh, we failed at it. There's not been any form of failure. It was just about the right time, and the right time is now. Now that we have those platforms presented to us and the opportunities being presented to us, what do we do as female filmmakers? Do we get up, step up, combine forces, and work towards making sure that female stories are told the way that we want them to be told? Or do we just sit back and still be afraid to push forward? I am one of those people that I'm not afraid to push forward and to make sure that I'm telling the right stories that need to be told as a female filmmaker.
There's so much that females are doing right now. We have females in the box office, hitting the box office, and we have females producers now. So women are not just sent to do makeup or act. There are lots of women coming behind the scenes like myself and also doing great movies because we are good storytellers. We actually tell stories in great details and with a lot of soul and heart. So females in Nigeria are really evolving from just the people that are used in front of the cameras and doing makeup and welfare to directors, producers, cinematographers, and sound engineers. And that's amazing for me to see that in my lifetime.
What we realize, some of the biggest films out of Nollywood are from female, from the likes of Jade Oshibere, from Kemi Adetiba, Funke Akindele. The highest grossing film is from Funke Akindele. We've seen these people have actually taken they've taken the baton and they're actually thriving and putting us on the global map. I mean, for female cinematographers, what I want to encourage more people is that we should have more female people behind technical team. Like, it's not just the directors, like the fancy names. We need to encourage more females to actually take roles behind the scene, technical roles. We need more female in the gaffer department. We need more female in the sound department. Now we have more female editors, but we need more of that. What that does encourages other people. You're not just going into the film industry as a makeup artist. You know that you would thrive if you decide to take on other roles that are technical because you think that you give you a job. I tell people that it's not just about training people. Do they have pipeline to actually grow? Not just even train them. Give them jobs. Let them grow. Let people know that it's possible for them to actually thrive in these roles.
The same way that I can go out there and combine with other top female filmmakers, and we can combine forces, partner, collaborate, and make bigger and greater things happen together. So I feel like this is the time. The world is seeing the power of female, and we have it. Is in our hands, and now we're making the very, very most of it as female filmmakers. Yeah.
All right, welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Actually, before we went on break, we had one or two messages coming. I don't know if Nyere, you have?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I
please.
have some messages.
Yes.
All right, so I'll just check this one. It says, good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Honorable Toju from Delta State. I'm delighted to participate in this important program on the gains and benefits of Asia-Nigeria trade diplomacy. My interest is to understand how we can actively support this initiative and ensure that its impact is extended to other regions across the country. All right, I think Dr. Fakuri would respond to that. You have more questions?
Just from Arabi Kende Paul, and he's sent in his message from Life Camp here in Abuja. I know few Nigerians who are into exporting business. The opportunities are enormous, but too many challenges, especially protection of Nigerians, and put in place protocol and policies to protect these investors. Again, protection, trust, confidence. Where do we start? You want to start? Okay.
I will take that.
Okay.
It's something I've been looking into. When we say protection, okay, I think that's a question she asked.
The same question I asked you
Good,
about.
so I will answer it now because this is where the government can come in. The government has to, and I say has to, not could, has to improve the standardization and regulation of all of these products. The reason why we are not protected is because they are sent out bare. These products are sent out like that. And that is how most businesses get bonds. If you look at particularly Belgium, for instance, there are a lot of containers that have to be destroyed because they do not meet the standards. And what I always say is, I mean, I've raised this up as at late last year, is if we do not regulate and standardize the inputs of whatever we're doing in Nigeria, how do you want to regulate and standardize the outputs? We do not, I mean, I stand to be corrected, but if we do not, particularly for agricultural products, if we do not regulate and standardize what we are putting in the ground, how do you want to regulate the output and standardize the output? If you don't start from the grassroots, you cannot say, oh, okay, the cocoa or the maize that came out has this so quantity of this, because you did not even check what you put on the ground. So when all of these things are put in place, you're actually protecting these business people. You're protecting these investors. And that's honestly one of the ways we can. Trust me, all the agencies in the value chain of import, export, they are doing their best. But again, the standardization and regulation has to be improved. We need to stop cutting corners. Because if you cut corners here, you cannot cut corners over there. If you cut corners at the outbound, at inbound, you're not cutting corners. And so when people say, oh, they get bonds, it's because they protect, again, some of these protection policies could be in place, but people are cutting corners to get their products out.
Can you just give us an idea what this protection policy?
Okay, so protection policy, for instance, I know for a fact the agencies, so like for SON and the Exports Promotion Council and all the agencies that you need to get certificates for before you export your products. I know there's an agency in Europe, for instance. It's a consultant or they're a seconded consulting firm by the European Union. They are, I mean, by virtue of it, I would not mention their name. And their mandate is to go to OACP states, that's the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states, to conduct trainings and standardization programs for these countries to make sure that their products meet the standards required by the EU.
Yes.
Now, when these things are done, they train NAFDAC, they train SON. These are people that do trainings for them. And it's on that basis they issue certificates for exports. But what I'm saying is the policies are there, the protection policies are being there. So it's just that it goes back to what Dr. Fakorede said in terms of enforcement of these policies.
But don't you think that if Nigeria moves from being just a raw material exporter to a value-added exporter, some of these challenges will be solved?
Very, very true. Very, very correct. But it also has to do with the standards. So we need to understand what international standards are to be able to absorb them and use that. Because we also need to understand, I think I said this, we need to move beyond the local market mindset. For all producers listening, all manufacturers listening in Nigeria, you need to move beyond the market. Do not see, you see the 200 million plus in Nigeria. People outside, as a businessman, you should see beyond the 200 plus. You should see 400, 500 million. That is, your product should not only just be for local consumption. You should push your products out there. You know why? The honest truth is, for a business person in Nigeria, one of the ways you can use to actually, break even at a point is to put your product out there in the international market. Because what's the buying power in Nigeria? How many people can boastfully say they can afford certain things? We saw this happen in the Dangote refinery, when he got to a point and said he has to start exporting or selling most of the output from the refinery to be able to recoup some of these investments made.
Alfonso, you're a Nigerian living outside Nigeria. With your experience outside and what you have come back to meet and what you used to know when you were here, what are the limitations really, for Nigerians who are in the business of, exporting? Is it really the business owners themselves, or is it that our laws or those who are supposed to ensure that the right things are done are the problem?
I think it's on both sides. The laws are there, and but Nigerians, local manufacturers and exporters need to see and understand our power and the standard that we need to, just like he's mentioned, the standard that we need to operate on. If we set that standard, what we are doing, our manufacturers are doing incredible jobs when it comes to production. So when it comes to exports, we need to upgrade our standard so that we can meet up. As we upgrade our standard, we'll be able to meet up with the international standard, right? So it's not just about looking at the Nigeria, the local markets. We are always focusing on the local market. We are Nigerians. It's great, but we need to look at the standard that we need to set for ourselves in this country that will merge and match with the international standard.
Alfonso,
and we're
but
out
for
there
a
too.
business person who is into export, nobody wants to export his goods and get it burnt without, making return of your investment. Of course, you're thinking about how it will be acceptable wherever you're sending it to. So my question really is it at the point of it being exported that some of the standards are lowered, or some of these products do not, the whole procedure, having to get them out, the number of days, for example, save their raw materials and all of that. Are these the factors, limiting our exports outside the country?
It's part of the factors, and this is why we need to really look into the local, the standards as well. Because, just like you said, take for example Belgium. You have that country, but Belgium, Brussels, for example, is the capital of Europe. So when Belgium makes certain policies, importation policies, it has to reflect the importation policies of the European Union. So if we upgrade our standard, our manufacturers understand that, it will be easier. We do the same thing, just on upgrade, understanding our standard, and then we don't have such problems at all. Then we can negotiate better. But if we are here and we continue to limit those standards to certain laws, rules, and regulations, it's definitely going to tell when we are exporting, even within the African markets.
Thank you. Shane, I want to talk about the opportunities for Nigerian farmers. Yes, because in all of this, we've not said anything. So what are the opportunities for Nigerian farmers and startups, beyond all the government deals? How can they tap into this business investment opportunities in Asia? That's one. And then I want us to look at our automobile industry. Right. We've talked about the automobile industry and the background, but it's still at that assembling stage. Right. How can they move from this stage to the next level?
Right. The first question about the farmers, so for the products, right? So I think this year China lifted all this kind of import tax. So there's no added tax actually if you want to export this kind of products to China. So that is already a fantastic news.
What products?
From the farming.
Yes.
Yeah. So all the I think peanuts or this type of things or dairy products. Okay. So I think here people should understand what the size or the quantity of Chinese market. China has 1.4 billion people, and among all of them, let's say like half of them live in the cities. And all of them need, for example, dairy products, so milk, all this type of products. And right now, we mainly import from New Zealand, from Australia, and from Holland, of course, and from Germany. I think Nigeria has a big opportunity for that. And also, I need to remind people here is we are also a big coffee consuming country. So right now, for average Chinese, of course, we don't consume as much as Japanese and South Korean, but still, it is increase. It increased a lot, I think, the consumption. So for this, I think there's a huge market. But so far in China, from our side, we haven't heard much about the Nigerian coffee, not yet. So there's a huge market
Nigerian
opportunity.
tea.
Yeah, of course, and also like Chinese people drink a lot of tea, so we never say no to different kind of varieties. So the size.
But there's tax free for export.
Yeah, I think this from this year
China.
they lifted all this kind of import tax. That is very important. And also, I want you to focus on the size. So, for example, you don't need to focus on half the country. That is too big. That is 700 million people. You can never grab the whole market. You just focus one niche market. For example, you focused on the elite in Shanghai. So that is we're talking about 1 million people, and in Beijing, like altogether 1 million people. These people, they want to pay they want to pay high to have selected high quality products. Coffee and all this kind of dairy product for their children. So for that, if you focus on this 1 million people, I think you have good enough clients, like in long term, to sustain your business. So you don't need to look at for everyone, just to find a very niche like entrance in this market, and then you can expand. When you are successful in Beijing, you can be successful in Shanghai, in Shenzhen, in other. China is a big single market. For the startup, so you just mentioned, I think it has a huge opportunities. Yesterday we interacted with some local AI startup. I see like a huge opportunity, and also the partnership between AI software developed here because they know better the market. They know what people and the companies here and the governments here need, but they don't have the hardware. China is the biggest factory for hardware all over the world, and everybody is still dependent on that. So there is actually a fact that this cooperation can be mutual beneficial, and they can be interdependent. So they are dependent one toward the other. Without the local markets developed AI software, the hardware company can never get into the market. But without the hardware, you cannot, deploy. So that is the real, I think, the value of this partnership. So AI software developed here with the Chinese hardware. But automotive industry, you have to be extremely patient. China has spent more than 25 years.
You're laughing. Yes, go ahead.
Spent more than 25 years before we really launched our local, like have a successful local brands. China's, right now we have to see a lot of Chinese brand, BYD, Geely, and NIO, all these kind of very successful brand. But they are the result of a very long process of learning. We learned how the Americans, how the Japanese, how South Koreans, how they fabric the whole thing, and we actually meet their standard.
So how long should we wait?
Well, not wait. I think it depends on how much we can learn.
Okay.
And efficiently. So if we can learn, but Chinese, we really learned nights and days. So it was 25 years.
Wow.
So I think it really depends on the, on the how local people, like how the local engineers are trained, how they absorb all the ideas, how they are formed. So you see right now all in this Chinese.
And how they are funded as well. Because funds also, training, when you go for training, you need, you need funds.
Exactly.
And of course. So that's why I think, so we should not be too impatient, for this outcome. I think all this results.
I like the way you say it. What about ordinary handsets, phones? Which I know. I mean, the phones are even my phone is China.
Yeah, made in China. Right.
Yeah. So why can't we begin to have our own brand, Nigerian brand?
We're actually having.
We're having brand.
We're having brands.
I know Gbenga was talking about something, Yes, a brand not for Nigeria, but for.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I want you to talk about that.
Okay, that's interesting. That's
blackmail.
So I mean, Nigeria should watch out for something new that is coming soon. I mean, I'll just leave it as that. It's something prideful for us to do. That we are actually, it's just like you asked the question that when we say export, why, I hope it doesn't get to the point just like we did for oil and all this. It's time, and it's the same thing with what she just said about the AI and stuff. So now we are seeing more export of services, of production, of all of these things. The sector is cutting across a widespread now. But to answer your question, yes, we would be launching a new electronics brand into the market. In all things being equal, in about a month plus, and the construction of the facility of production, the manufacturing site will be done from towards the end of this year.
I'm just asking you because that's LTP, that's commercial. I'm just asking you.
We need to round up the conversation.
Yes, just a moment. How does it fit briefly in 60 seconds into the Nigeria First policy?
It is because it is locally produced and taken to the international space. So it is taking Nigeria to the world, taking made in Nigeria to be used in Europe, in Asia, and in the Americas.
All right. Many thanks, Gbenga. Dr. Fakorede, what's the future, really, of this Nigeria-Asia trade policy? What do you see playing out? Shane, I said we should be patient in some sectors, but, I mean, in the next, say, 5-10 years.
You cannot build something on nothing. We're talking about capacity building. which is actually ongoing in the country. You cannot just sit back and begin to criticize without you inquiring and taking advantage of these opportunities. The Federal Ministry of Youth Development, they are doing enormously, well in terms of building capacity of Nigerians' youth. 70% of our democracy, of our demography, it's ongoing. The agricultural sector, as you mentioned, is being supported by Mr. President with about 1.5 trillion, in terms of money to the Bank of Agriculture to revitalize that bank. A new MD CEO, has been there, a youthful gentleman, doing well. Manufacturing in itself, you can go to anywhere in the country. You find, for example, in Enugu, our coal is still there, buried under earth. You want to become a manufacturer? Just find a way to be able to do this and come to the office of the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, get your necessary papers, evidence, to see our bauxites, our old tin in Jos still available, gold all over the places, In agriculture, Mr. President, unprecedentedly has launched over 2,000 tractors that will be working in the 774 local government to cultivate for Nigeria and, of course, Nigerians to improve our food security. So we cannot just sit back and begin to, to criticize rather than come up, make inquiries and take advantage of this. For startups and micro, medium, small enterprises, there's a lot of money available in terms of single-digit credit to helping you improve this. If you're a manufacturer, you can approach Central Bank of Nigeria with evidence of what you have. There's ₦1 billion waiting for you to improve, your manufacturing. Single-digit in terms of repayment. Those are benefits ongoing by the current administration, to which we are excited, about as renewed hope professionals. Now, going forward from this effort of bringing in Asian investors to Nigeria by the Alfonso Group, the gentleman from Delta State said, how can they key in? How can they be a part of it? I've enunciated a part of it that he can do. He can make inquiries and then follow up. Now, we are putting together, as we initiated, a hub that we call Alfonso Free Trade Zone, private sector-led initiative, where we'll have not only ideas on paper, not only speaking English grammar, but manufacturers will come down to this free trade zone and then establish their factories there. And all the incentives of government will be brought to bear, in time for the benefits of Nigeria. Importantly, yes, I'd like to address us as Nigerians. Just give me 30 seconds. You see, we cannot just, continue in the proverbial Nigerian way of doing things. There's nothing like Nigerian way of doing things. Negativities are not allowed and permitted. Always do the right thing at the right time. Stop cutting corners. Stop being over-ambitious about things. It took China 25 years to get there. We could do this in the same period of time, or even less. So Nigeria shall be the better for it.
Let's hear from Sheng. And I just in 30 seconds, to the Nigerian entrepreneur watching this show, what would be the one thing you recommend for them to focus on to attract Asian investors?
Attracting Asian investor. So I think is to have this very frank discussion about real potential. So what they can do next, concretely. Next. So that is what the Chinese investors are expecting. Not like too over-ambitious aim, but concretely what we can do next within 1, 3, 5 years.
All right, many thanks, Lady Shane Song, for joining us for the conversation. Of course, all the guests, thank you so much. Asia Nigeria Coordinating Investment Specialist and CEO of Cinnable Consulting. It was indeed a pleasure to have you on the program, and we'll look forward to having you, some other time when, some of these deals have been signed and then, sealed, of course, and delivered, and then, we want to see all of the benefits play out for the good of Nigerians and Nigeria. Thank you so much for being our guest. Of course, we also like to appreciate Benga Ogundikwe, investment expert from Belgium. Thank you so much for being our guest. And Fonso Adebayo, investment expert from Switzerland. Thank you so much. And good to see that, Nigerians outside are coming back to the country to invest. Of course, Dr. Martins Fakorede, Chairman of Renewed Hope Professionals. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Anytime.
All right. So that's Good Morning Nigeria today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Leave it locked on the NTA. I'm Ian Ray John.
I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.